Okay, welcome
No,
to season
we're,
20.
We're live now.
I'm your host, Lester Holt, and welcome to season 26 presidential debate. Here tonight are the following candidates: Henry Terry. Hello. Dave Terry.
Hello, thank you.
And Mia Santiago.
Aloha.
Now here we're in Houston, a site of a recent massacre and a very...
It wasn't.
Don't correct me. Near the site of a recent massacre in Texas, and so let's start off with gun control.
Opening statement.
I believe, yes, that's going to be our first thing, but I believe Dave Terry has been picked first for the opening statement, followed by Mia Santiago, and then Henry Terry. So, Dave Terry, you want to go first?
Yes, thank you, University of Houston, for having me here tonight. You know, Mac is moving towards an oligarchic form of government and society. The three richest people in America have more wealth than the bottom 50%. The 90% of media companies owned by 6 corporations, and we have a democracy that is being rigged. We need structural change in Mac if we are going to continue our activity and democratic values. I hope you can listen to my ideas, the ideas of everyone on the stage, and create an informed opinion and an informed list of people that you'll be voting for this election.
Thank you, Mr. Dave Terry. Next is Mia Santiago. And please, if you're not speaking, please mute your mics.
Aloha. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Mia Santiago, and I represent the Rent is Too Damn High party. People are working 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and some for many jobs. Women and men can't afford to take care of their children, feeding them breakfast, lunch, and dinner. My main job is to provide a roof over your head, food on your table, and money in your pocket. This is politics as usual. Playing the silly game, but that's not going to happen. The Rent is Too Damn High party movement represents all Americans, but especially the ones who can't afford to pay their rent. They're being laid off right now as I speak. They can't afford breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Listen. Somewhere, some child's stomach just grumbled. Did you hear it? You gotta listen like me. The rent is too damn high. Houston, we have a problem. And I can fix that. I'm Mia Santiago.
Okay, thank you, Mia Santiago. Next we have Henry Terry. Yeah, Mr. Terry, do you have a statement prepared?
Henry Terry is my
Let me just start off by thanking my opponents for being here. Mia Santiago and Dave Terry, as well as Chris Jenny Miller for hosting this debate. I'd like to thank Houston and all of you guys for watching. I'm Henry Terry, Senator of District 2, founder of the Anarchist Liberty Party, and a proud libertarian. I'm running for president because I don't think our current country can succeed in its current shape. We need more direct democracy in our government. We need more democracy in the workplace. We need less centralization and more decentralization. We need power to be returned to the people. Each person should control their own life, and that's why I'm running for president. Thank you.
All right, thank you for all the candidates. Now let's set up the debate rules. For the first 1 minute of the debate, you get after being asked a question, you have a 1 minute to answer. If the candidates would like to make that 1 minute and 30, just please make yourselves known now. And then for the response, we'll do about 30 to 45 seconds, depending on the question. Is that all agreed to?
Yes.
Okay. The first question, since Henry Terry was last, will go to Henry Terry. Following the recent massacres in Texas, will you, if elected, propose a new gun control measure onto the American public? And if so, what measures do you plan on making? And how will it help America?
Let me just start off by saying that these are some terrible mass shootings that have affected countless people. And my heart goes out to all the victims who were affected by this mass shooting. When it comes to gun control, as a libertarian, I do not believe in super strict gun control. I believe in basic mandatory background checks. But that's really it. But we need to stop mass shootings one way or another. And the way we do that is by implementing policies and creating rules that will prevent so much information about mass shooters from entering into public discourse. I believe that the names of mass shooters should be withheld. I believe photos should be withheld because it is an actual threat to public safety, and that's what countless psychologists and psychological organizations have stated. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry Terry. All right, the next, this, I believe, was it Mia who then went before, after David?
Yes.
Okay, then Mia Santiago, we'll go next then.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. As Henry Terry did state, my heart goes out to all the victims and people affected by the recent massacres and shootings in all areas over the country. Now, I support the Second Amendment. People do have a right to bear arms, but it is not okay that we are just letting any old person walk into a school, a mall, a place of worship, anywhere with a military weapon. That is just not okay. We need to increase background checks and all that sort of stuff like that. You see, that is one of the gun violence is the fourth most common cause of death, and that comes before just old age. If you need a license to drive a car, if you need to be a certain age and all that stuff to drive a car, you should need a license to hold a machine that kills thousands of people every year. Thank you.
I would like to rebuttal.
Dave, you haven't gone yet.
I'd still like to rebuttal.
Okay, you can rebuttal and you could go. And then...
So, listen, no one up here, so, as far as I understand, supports civilians owning weapons of war. But the problem with that statement is that it's disingenuous. Because AR-15s and other semi-automatic rifles are not weapons of war. No one up here, as far as I know, wants to legalize fully automatic machine guns. But I think two of the candidates up here, at least, do support the right to own semi-automatic rifles, as it is clearly listed in the Second Amendment to do so. And the Supreme Court, previous ruling before even MEC was created, and we use all the MEC laws before MEC was created. So that would apply here, as far as my understanding, that assault rifles actually are legal and constitutionally protected in MEC and in real life. And also, I do agree with both of the people. We do need universal background checks, but the problem with a lot of the universal background checks, which we already have them, at least in real life, I don't know if we have them in Mac, but if we do, that's great. If we don't, then that's a real big issue. But even if we do have them, there is a problem. the universal background checks a lot of the times are outdated, and a lot of the times are lacking key information that should be in it. So what I would do if I'm elected is I would tell my FBI director, listen, we are going to update, and we're going to do things. We're going to work with Congress, and we are going to update we're going to have everyone in the country that's ever been convicted of every felon and every person that's been instituted into a mental health institution to make sure that people that do not need guns cannot buy guns. But at the same time, I will not take away any law-abiding citizen's gun. That's a promise I'll make right here. No law-abiding citizen will have their right to carry an arm taken away from them under my presidency.
Okay, anyone? Any rebuttals?
And also, I want to say one more thing. If I'm not mistaken, when you brought up age with a car, because I heard you say that, you do need to be a certain age to buy a gun. 5-year-olds are not buying guns. And also about a license, I would like to say the dangers about having a license for owning guns. The whole point of the Second Amendment, and I'm not advocating for overthrowing the government, hear me out here though. The whole point of the Second Amendment was to make sure that the government couldn't become too tyrannical, because they would have an armed populace that would prevent that. And so whenever you adopt gun registration, some of the most tyrannical regimes in the history of the world have adopted gun registration, gun licensing, and they can take away the gun. So I don't think the government should know who should have a gun. I think the government should know who shouldn't have a gun, and that's how we do universal background checks. But I do not believe the government should know who has a gun, because that's a very slippery slope that can lead to all types of things that I don't think anyone on this stage wants.
Let me just say this. I find it strange that some of the people who most criticize the government also want the government to be the people who are armed the most. Thank you.
Any rebuttals from anyone else? Going once. Going twice. Sold. Okay. The second question we have here tonight is from Mia Santiago. So, the other candidates on the stage, the two other candidates, have campaign platforms. You don't, because you like having conversations one-on-one. Do you believe this benefits you or hurts you?
Can you re-say the question, please?
The other two candidates on the debate stage tonight have a campaign platform. You don't have a campaign platform because you believe conversations one-on-one are more important and provide better support for you. So do you believe this would benefit you or hurt you in the long run?
Well, I believe this would benefit me. I believe it is much better to get to know someone in MEC than to type up a 20-page document, an 8-page document, however long your platform is. I think it's better to get to know the person you're trying to get the vote from. I believe that if you just send someone a link, you're simply not trying to connect with them. I try, whenever I campaign to someone, and whenever I say, hey, can I get your support in the presidential race? I am doing it because I want to not only get to know them better, but I want to know what issues are most important to them. Because the issues I fight for are not only important to me, but they are important to the people of MEC.
Thank you, Mrs. Santiago. So, the question now would go to, I believe, Dave Terry.
Yeah.
And Dave, you are one of the candidates that do have
Yes.
a campaign platform. Do you believe this benefits you, or does it hurt you?
I'm just going to point out two basic facts. So one of the facts is that all the candidates with platforms are polling higher than the three candidates that don't have platforms are the 3 lowest polling candidates, while the 4 candidates with platforms are the 4 highest polling candidates. So I think it does. I think that's saying something. Then also, I think it's better to have a platform because I'm not making any accusations, but just basing your ideas on how you talk to people to me seems more like pandering than actually telling the American people, this is what I believe. I hope you vote for me because these are the values that I have, and these are the values that I hope we can have for the country. To me, that's a lot better than just basing your ideas based off how other people feel. To me, that's destroys the entire purpose of. I mean, yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Terry. So next, it will go to, of course, Henry Terry. And the same question for you is: do you believe your campaign platform helps you or hurts you on this presidential race?
So of course a campaign platform helps you. It helps you formulate your thoughts. It helps you give the people a general outline of what you believe in. And I think that's saying that when you have a campaign platform, it's not really connecting with the people, and when you talk to the people and connect with the people, that's better than having a campaign platform. I just don't see why we can't have both. An important part of campaigning in this community is PMing other people and connecting with them. It's not really just open up a platform and then people vote for you automatically. You do have to connect to a lot of people on a personal basis. So I think it's really disingenuous to say that having a platform hurts that. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question is going to go to David Terry.
Thank you.
The U.S. has suffered a recent terrorist attack in Kentucky during the last days in office for President Adam Evans. How would you combat acts of terror and domestic terror attacks under your administration?
I'm glad I got this question because I am, as far as what I've seen, have the most laid out foreign policy plan out of any candidate. That's just what I've seen. And so what we are going to do is we're going to work with NATO, and we're going to say, listen, so NATO is founded based off what was going on in the Cold War. It's outdated. I do not believe that we are going to have a situation where we need a military alliance to prevent one nation from attacking another member of NATO. I don't think that's really where the world is at. I don't think there's going to be major, I don't think Russia is going to be invading Western Europe in this time. What I do see happening is terrorism. So we should take NATO, the great amount of allies that we have in it, the great amount of resources that it has in it, and use it for fighting terrorism. That is what we have to do if we're going to prevent these terrorist attacks. We have to work with our allies, NATO, Japan, Australia, powerful countries that we're allies with, and we have to work with them to protect all of ourselves and our allies from terrorism. That's how we do it. We're going to take the resources from NATO, and we're going to use it for fighting terrorism.
Thank you. Okay, it now goes to Mr. Henry. Mr. Henry Terry, it now goes to you. So, same question as before. The U.S. has suffered recent terrorist attacks in Kentucky during the last days in office for President Adam Evans. How do you plan on to combat acts of terror and domestic terrorist attacks that have stricken the nation and have put fear in all Americans?
For one, let's just not create terrorists to begin with. Let's not get ourselves involved in regime change wars that do nothing except create terrorists. Furthermore, I think we should, help some of the countries and places that are attacking terrorism, not directly through ground troops or drone strikes, because those don't work. All they do is, as I said, create new terrorists. But we should help, people who are fighting groups like ISIS, people who are fighting Al Qaeda, like Rojava. And so, as president, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Same question goes to Mia Santiago. Mia Santiago, the U.S. has suffered a recent terrorist attack in Kentucky during the last days of President Adams' administration. how would you combat acts of terror and domestic terror attacks that again have stricken the nation and put fear in each and one of every American's heart? Henry
Well,
Kidd.
I agree with Senator Terry. I believe that we need to stop getting involved with these wars, and we really need to go help countries that are struggling because of these wars. Because as long as we are okay, then we should make sure that other countries are okay too.
All right, any rebuttals for any other candidates?
I would like to say something. So I, for one, along with I believe some of the other candidates that are not on this stage running, I think all would agree that the regime change wars that the war industrial complex state have industrial war military industrial complex have been pushing for in this country are unjust, and they violate human rights and they violate national sovereignty. So what I would do, and I think Senator Henry Terry agrees with this on me. We have a very similar foreign policy to me, but we only use the just war theory to justify wars, which pretty much my understanding of it is, if we are not directly attacked, or if one of our allies is not directly attacked, that we have an actual alliance with, saying that an attack on one is an attack on all, so like NATO, we will not go to a war with another country. We aren't going to go to war with another country because they threaten our oil supply. We're not going to go to a war with another country because they have some ideas that we don't like. If it doesn't specifically threaten American lives, we're not going to go to war with it. And I also happen to have a train going by my house, so I will mute my mic till the train goes by.
That is confirmed. There is a train going by Houston. Give me a second. Did someone forget to call the goddamn train company? Jesus Christ! This is the goddamn presidential debate, and you cannot get a goddamn train coming past it. Oh, my apologies for the yelling. Anyway, sure. Wow, Dave Terry gets his mic. Reboot it. We're going to go to a brief commercial break. Coca-Cola has been around in America for over 100 years, providing each and every man, soldier, and firefighter and cop with a Coke. One time it was only for a nickel a day. A nickel a day could buy you a Coke anywhere, anytime. We funded American soldiers by giving them free Coke every day. Please join us in spreading the love of Coke more.
If I could actually finish my statement, because I think I was cut
we
off
are now
short
back from the commercial break, and Dave Terry's mic is fixed.
Yeah, so those damn trains, tell you what. Bet they use coal, hurting the environment. So listen, about foreign policy. Listen, so I guess my overall approach would be non-interventionist, but at the same time, we do have to be diplomatic. So I guess I'll go into another foreign policy plan of mine while I have the time. I'll make this quick. If I'm elected, we're going to invest billions of dollars into Central and South America, West Africa, and Eastern Europe, and we're going to do exactly what China's doing with the new Silk Road. We're going to do it in those areas. We're going to compete with China, and we will not let China overtake us. And whether it's military strength or GDP or trade, we're not going to let China overtake us, and we will remain the most influential country on earth. We're going to do it through diplomacy and through trade, not through endless regime change wars.
All right, this is just a moderator. Oh my God, Dave. So this is just a moderator announcement. In 10 minutes, I have to go to my fire company and do a couple things for tonight because Monday is training. So if the candidates want to go on a very hard and fought search to get Luca to moderate, that'd be great.
We can just do closing statements now.
Okay,
no, I'm gonna get someone else to moderate it.
Fair enough.
We have another question, but first we have a campaign. First we have a couple ads from our people who are providing us the great debate tonight. The frogs are getting gay by drinking water. I'm Alex Drones. Now, if your frog's turning gay, make sure you buy the water filter 300. The water filter 300 filters water, so no frogs turning gay, and everyone's a-okay. Frog water turning gay is not a good thing to do
Okay,
anymore.
Alex Jones, I'd like to
So
interrupt.
please buy the water filter
Mia,
300.
can you please
Thank you.
add Luca to the chat? So
This is why people don't
moderate.
take us seriously.
Yes, we can have people to moderate Mia. Just add Luca to the chat.
This is gonna add.
Okay, can you please ask us
I
some more
hope
questions?
I hope everyone has figured out the moderator situation. All right, the next question, and the fourth question, I believe, is the United States has been taking a non-interventionist policy, and 2 candidates have recently addressed the non-interventionist policy. Do you plan on changing this policy, and if so, in what ways? Or do you plan on making a more humanitarian approach? Now, this question, I believe, would go to Henry Terry.
Well, so this question was worded pretty weirdly, but I will try to.
I will say it again. More clearly.
You should probably rephrase it because saying it again.
The United States has been taking a more non-interventionist policy recently. Do you plan on making a change to this policy?
Well, I mean, non-interventionist policy, in general, I guess you could say is only non-interventionist until we're attacked. So I stand by that. Only non-interventionist unless our soil is attacked by another country. Thank you. My time.
All right. Now it goes to me, Santiago. Same question to you. The United States has been taking a non-interventionist policy recently. Do you plan on changing it?
Well, I would like to say something to Grover while having her absence about something that he said.
Yeah, you could go ahead.
Grover, you said that if American soil's not attacked, what if an American ally like England or Canada is attacked? Would you still not do anything, even if we have a treaty specifically saying that we are supposed to do something?
I mean, sure. I mean, I guess.
Are you saying that you want to leave NATO?
I mean, I don't like NATO, but leaving it would be terrible foreign policy. I would like to obviously go to war as a last resort when it comes to our allies being attacked. However, if need be, I would be fine with us going to war for our allies' sake.
That's awesome.
Sorry, I didn't make it clear.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure.
No. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I wasn't trying to trap you. I was just trying to make sure that the voters are truly informed.
All right. I appreciate the candidates' lovely courtesy to each other. If Mia Santiago goes back, that would be great.
Mia, you're muted.
Miss Santiago, you are muted, ma'am.
Mrs. Santiago, you there?
I move that we move on, and then whenever Mia becomes active again, then we will give her time to answer the questions that she missed.
Good talk. So, what are your views on the minimum wage and universal basic income? This goes to Dave Terry.
You know, this is a real passionate issue to me. So I'll address universal basic income first. I support a thing called basic parental income. That is $250 per month to parents that have at least one child. And so, because parents are two separate people, it'll be $125 per parent per month. If you're the legal guardians or parents, and the child and you are documented U.S. citizens, you'll be automatically enrolled in this, and we pay for it by. My plan is to increase the outsourcing tax and bring an inheritance tax into MAC, and that is how, and bring a 5% value added tax to MAC. That's how I pay for those things, while at the same time we're going to tax the middle class out of existence. And I want to kind of, whenever Mia was talking about, is there a hungry child? I didn't hear a plan to solve that child being hungry, except by simply, I guess, adopting a national rent control program, which wouldn't work. Rent control doesn't work. I learned that the hard way. But I think my plan would actually address child hunger and child poverty better by giving
But you can't
parents
agree,
the
the
direct
rent is
money
too
that
damn
they
high.
need to make the right decisions for their family, not just adopting a tyrannical rent control program that interferes in the markets and quite simply it's not really American to me at least. So I would say it's an American idea. But the basic parental income to me is a very American idea. We pay for it by taxing taxes that mainly affect the 1% in big corporations, like the value-added tax and the inheritance tax.
I would
Raising
like to
outsourcing
rebuttal
tax,
to that.
and that's what we will do. And that's exactly how we'll pay for it. $250 per month. That's no one's gonna dislike $250 per month.
I would like a rebuttal, but after I go.
You are allowed that rebuttal.
Oh wait, one more thing. Minimum wage. So, whenever I was in the House, I passed the Terry American Workers Act. And what that did is it did several things. It increased vacation time to workers to 25 days. It instituted mandatory profit sharing for corporations and mechs. So that's right. No one talks about this a lot. But because of me, of a bill that I created, and Senator Henry Terry worked with me on this.
And Jamie
I wrote the
Riley.
profit sharing part, just to be fair. And what it did is 25% of corporate profits now go to the workers. So actually, the average worker now gets. Oh wait, no, it's the average worker. If my parental basic income plan is also passed, the average worker with at least one child will get $6,000 per year. That's the average amount. And so to me, that's a lot of money. That's $500 per month on average, based on my legislation that I have done already and that I will do, that I will propose if I'm elected president. I actually already have a parental income bill I have written and used in the UK, but I will bring it here when I'm elected president, and we will adopt parental basic income now. And about minimum wage, the bill also raised the minimum wage to $14 per hour, but now there's legislation being proposed to raise it to $15 per hour, and that I do support.
All right. Well, I only have about a minute left.
How about everyone answer this question, and then we'll bring Luca on.
Yeah, and then we'll bring Luca on because Luca's here to moderate.
All right.
So,
So,
Chris, let me just ask. I'm sorry, Chris. Do you have a list of questions, or are you just going off the top of your head?
No, I have a list of questions.
Can you please send that list to Luca, just like in the chat, in the debate chat?
Well, I'll send the questions I have not asked you from.
all right. So, should I go or should Mia go?
I think we should let Mia go. She hasn't spoken in a while. Then we'll let Grover go, and then Luca will come on.
Yeah, just do whatever.
Okay, Mia, go. Thoughts on minimum wage and UBI?
Well, as I stated in my opening statement, men and women are working multiple jobs, and you see, these wages are not livable. If I were president, I would raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour, because I believe that is a livable wage. You can live in a house with that wage. You can have children with that wage, and you can afford to feed them with that wage.
All right. Well, thank you guys for everything.
Grover answered it.
It has been a fun night with you guys, and my next moderator will be taking over in a couple of minutes. So I'd like to tell all of you to have a wonderful night, and I have confidence in Luca. All right, thank you. Here's Luca now.
Hello, Luca.
Mia, were you finished with your statement, or should I go?
Yes, I was finished.
Alrighty. So the question was, what are my thoughts on $15 minimum wage and universal basic income? So let me just start off with $15 minimum wage. I do support a $15 minimum wage. I believe it is a fair wage that, at the very least, is a fair minimum wage. I do support the profit sharing bill that I helped write, and I think we should raise it from 25% to more like 35%. Somewhere in that region. Now to go to universal basic income. This may come as a surprise to many people, but I do not support the idea of a universal basic income anymore, and here's why. The problem with the universal basic income plan is that the money that you are getting can easily be taken by landlords. It can be taken by banks through higher interest rates, and it can be taken by employers who may say you don't need as much money anymore. I think that a universal basic income program really isn't the right choice for America. I believe it's a universal basic necessity program that we need. Everyone gets their basic necessities: food, water, internet, things of that nature. Now, to respond to Dave Terry's point regarding the value-added tax, he says the value-added tax affects the 1% the most, but
I said
that's
big
just not
corporations in the 1%. So
big corporations. But that's not true. As every economist will say, a tax like the value-added tax, which is a sales tax effectively, is regressive. And that's just how economics works. The poor people who spend a majority of their income on things to buy will end up paying a lot of this value-added tax and paying a lot of their income, a less proportional amount of their income than, say, a rich person. Because a rich person, when they're buying things, they're not spending as much as their income because, well, they don't need to. That's basic economics. And I think that if you support the value-added tax, which 5% is too much to, it would raise $300 billion, which is more than enough. I'd just like to point that out that you are effectively trying to institute a regressive tax that will harm the working class. Thank you.
I would like to respond, as my name was mentioned several times in that.
All right.
One, listen, so if that is true, and I'll get my research team to do more about the value-added tax, I will look into that, because those are valid concerns, and thank you, Senator Henry Terry, for pointing those out. Second,
why didn't your research firm
I did.
research
I didn't
to
research
figure it out
that hard.
already?
I did my research on Andrew Yang, Yang2020.com, and then it had sources about the value-added tax. I did my research there. That's a valid source.
I mean, you also know that we have a $122 billion surplus that could pay for
I
such a
understand
program.
that. I understand that. But Mac doesn't calculate the interest paid off on debt, so the surplus is
Yes, and we recalculated it in our
okay, that's fair
latest
enough.
budget.
So we have that. So we could pay. That's awesome. We could pay for the basic parental income. We wouldn't have to raise any taxes. That's great. I'm glad I learned that tonight. So listen, we need someone that's addressing the serious issues here. And the serious issues is that we have a climate. We have a society and an economic system that is anti-family. We need maternity leave to be longer. We need benefits for having children, not takeaways. We need a tax system that specifically rewards having children. And I want to give you all a fact. If America didn't have as many immigrants as we had, like not immigrants as in people that have moved here, but people that are coming over here every year, our population would be declining. If we halted all immigration right now, population would be declining. To me, that is a problem. We need to have a population that can increase. So in times whenever we have stagnation in immigration because of certain factors, we can continue our population growth. And also, we talked about abortion earlier, and I'm not going to get into a big abortion thing. I'm just going to say the parental basic income. If you're a person that is pro-life, you want that because parental basic income would, in fact, decrease the amount of abortions because it would make it so a lot of people that would choose to have an abortion because of financial reasons would no longer need to have it because they're being paid to be a parent. Because being a parent is a full-time job. You should get paid for it. It is a full-time job, and someone has to do it. So society, it takes a village to raise a kid, So society, under my plan, will pay you for being a parent. It's a full-time job. Someone has to get paid for it. And someone has to pay for it. And I do think it is fair to have that. I don't think anyone really here disagrees that it's a good idea, at least. I hope not. Yeah, but about minimum wage, Listen, I do support a $15 minimum wage. I raised the minimum wage to $14 per hour when I was a representative.
You already
That was an increase from the current one. I can't.
You already answered the question. I don't see why we need to keep going.
Okay. Next question. Go.
All right. So, you have begun talking about the economy. Is that correct?
Yes.
We've touched on wages and universal and
Yeah.
welfare and stuff.
All right.
Pretty much, yeah.
We're gonna start with, or we're going to continue this debate more so. I'm sorry, I got a very confusing list from our good friend Chris. Have we talked about jobs?
No.
No.
No, we have not, sir.
All right, then we'll talk about that. Mia, Santiago, we'll start with you, and then we'll bring this question to Henry Terry and then David Terry. What are you going to do to bring about jobs in this country? Mia?
I move.
Sorry, my mic is not working too well. Do you want to leave the call and rejoin? Sure.
Should I answer while we wait for her to come back?
Of course. Of course.
So we need to create jobs. That's an obvious fact. There are thousands of people who are unemployed currently or underemployed. So we need to create more opportunities for the American people. How do we do that? Well, there's a couple ways. Number one, we need to expand trade. But it can't be crappy trade deals. It has to be fair trade, because fair trade creates jobs, it creates economic growth, it creates wage growth. So we need to promote fair trade deals. And I have done that. I renegotiated NAFTA to make it more fair. So as president, I will work to create more fair trade agreements. Other ways we can create jobs, I think we need to invest billions and billions upon billions into green energy, which will create many jobs. We need to invest in infrastructure still. And of course, I think that's something that is kind of not talked about too much, but was an FDR program, I believe, during the Great Depression. I think we should, do more for artists and pay people who are creative. So as president, I will do a lot of those things to create thousands and thousands of high-paying, good jobs.
I guess. Can I go?
I think Mia hasn't went.
Mia. Okay, Mia.
Yeah, Mia.
Mia, you're on mute.
Yeah. Okay. So, while we wait for Mia, Okay, Mia, your turn to answer the question. What's the question? Sorry. What are you going to do to bring about jobs? So, what I will do is to make sure that we get good, well-paying jobs in this country, jobs that you can live off of, is I will use all the tools of the government to defend and create jobs in America. I will propose spending $2 trillion in clean energy technology and combating climate change. In the process, that will also be creating more than 1 million good jobs here at home in the United States.
So,
Are you
on
finished?
on the topic of
All right.
jobs. Wait, are you done, Mia? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, I just didn't
Okay.
want to interrupt you, ma'am. But
Thank you.
so listen, about jobs. I have a plan for jobs. Actually, I have 2 plans for jobs. So whenever we talk about all the jobs that green energy is going to create, all the magnificent jobs, which it will create a lot of good jobs, but we never talk about is the 50,000 people that work in coal mines, the tens of thousands of people that work on oil rigs, the thousands of people that work in other non-renewable energy sectors. The forgotten men and women of the people that are being left behind in this new economy. So what are we going to do to support them? Well, my plan is to, we're going to probably pass a couple legislative agendas to do this. What we're going to do is we're going to work with the current existing energy companies, and we're going to say, listen, we have to transition into green energy, and clean energy for the environment. So nuclear, geothermal, hydroelectric, and tidal energy. Those are the 4 main energy groups I want to focus on as president, and that's what we're going to do. So we're going to work with, and we're going to use grants. We're going to spend between now and the goal, which is 2040, to get to net zero carbon emissions with our energy sector. We're going to invest trillions of dollars into transitioning the current energy companies into renewable and clean energy companies and affordable energy companies. You know, a lot of people who talk about solar and wind, we already have a great, but those things still need development. We already have a great form of clean energy right now. It's called nuclear energy. When I get elected president, we're going to use nuclear energy. And yeah, people always attack nuclear. Nuclear is great. Many countries use it already. France uses it. Many other countries use it. And that's what we're going to do under my administration. We're going to invest trillions of dollars over the next couple of decades by 2040 to get there. And so that's one thing about jobs. So I guess I just described my entire energy plan. But we're going to create a lot of jobs with green energy. And then also, with infrastructure, we're going to invest billions of dollars in it. And I know, actually, infrastructure in MEC's pretty good. But whenever we need improvements, we're going to make improvements, and we're going to create jobs doing that. And then 2 more things. We're going to bring back the Civilian Conservation Corps that was under FDR. We are going to bring that back. We're going to enact a federal jobs guarantee also. So we're going to do those 2 things. And then also, yeah, I agree with Senator Henry Terry. We need free trade. Trade that helps workers, trade that helps consumers, and trade that helps everyone involved. Trade that doesn't exploit third world workers, and trade that doesn't only make the top 1% richer and richer at the expense of the bottom 90%, 99%, and at the expense of third world workers in foreign countries. So I do agree with that, and I will not support any trade deal that I believe would hurt American workers. I won't do it. And I'll talk with labor unions. I will not approve a trade deal without union representatives, and I'll not even write a trade deal without union representatives being there while we're doing it. And that's a fact. And I can promise that. You know, and about jobs, we also have to be pro-union. I think everyone on this stage is pro-union, so I'm not going to go into a tangent about being pro-union. But I am pro-union.
Yes.
I have to go. Goodbye.
Okay,
Thank you everyone for
goodbye,
watching. I have to go help my mom move. So,
goodbye,
yeah.
Grover Vertebrar.
Goodbye.
Okay, Luca, ask like 2 more questions, then we're going to do closing statements. Luca, you're on mute.
I don't think he is anymore.
Luca, you're on mute.
Yes, Senor Luca.
Can you please ask us 2 more questions, and then we're going to do closing statements.
Can you now? I cannot hear. I did not see that I was on.
Luca? Luca, you're on mute, I think. Yeah, Luca, you're on mute. Can you please get off mute? Okay, leave the call and then rejoin, Luca. I think you're glitching.
No, we cannot hear you now, Luca.
Okay, Luca. I think he's gonna. Okay, Luca.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes. Can you hear me now? Okay, you can hear me.
Yes.
So, Chris sent me the list of questions that were already done. Because everything says done.
Okay. Can you just make up 2 totally random
Has
questions?
he asked you? Okay, Mia, do you think that because you've not really served an elected office before, you can do a good job as president, and why? So, thank you for the question, Mr. Benito. People are always telling me, you don't have any experience in Washington. You can't do this. You can't do that. I am always told those things. But it doesn't take experience to acknowledge that there are problems, in big problems going on in Washington and all over our country. And it doesn't take experience to acknowledge that. It also doesn't take that much experience to fix it. I mean, you do have to know the ways of how to fix it, but you don't have to hold any office in order to be able to help fix. You see, our current president, Donald Trump, or our real living president, Donald Trump, he managed to get elected. Now, I will not compare myself to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a motherfucker. He's horrible.
No, please no federal communication violations on this.
Okay. But I will not compare myself to him, but he managed to get elected. If he can get elected, so can I. Okay. Mr.
So
Terry.
I would like to rebuttal. Listen.
Okay.
So out of the people in this debate, I would consider myself the one with the most clearest vision for the American people. You know, the one that has the most laid out policy that will be used to put the interests of the American people and the 99% first. We aren't going to have phony policy. We aren't going to have things used to make people like us. But what we are going to have is we are going to move in a direction towards a distributist economy where we start off with increasing the profit sharing rate and increasing the percentage of board of directors and corporations that are elected by the workers. We're going to move to a worker co-op economy eventually. That'll be the path that I set us on, where we have increased the percentage of profit sharing and workplace democracy. We're going to protect small businesses and increase small business grants. We're going to have a common sense foreign policy where NATO is used for what should be its modern purpose, which is to fight terrorism. We are going to do those things, and we're going to have a new America. That is the vision that I have for this country, and I hope that's the vision you have when you vote this Friday.
Hey, and is there one more question that I have to ask you guys?
I think we can do closing statements now.
Closing statements, perfect. So because Mia answered this last question, we can do Dave first.
No, Mia can go. Mia can go. Well, I kind of had like a real long rebuttal, and I kind of turned that into my own answer. So Mia can go first.
All right. So, ladies first, Mia.
Yeah, ladies first. Yeah.
Okay. So, thank you, America, for everything. In the D3 House race, I became the first trans woman to not only be nominated, but to get any votes. That is history. I never thought anything like that would happen, knowing our country, knowing how it is so discriminated, knowing how people discriminate each other. I never thought that would happen. America, you proved me wrong. And I'm so glad you did. Now, I'm not scared of polling. I'm not scared to get off my butt and go talk to the average Joe that's not going to sit down and read a platform. They'd rather have a talk with the presidential candidate. They'd rather have a conversation with me or any other candidate than a pre-written answer. America, I am not running for fame. I am not running for name recognition. I am running for you. I am running to serve as your president. Thank you. Mr. Terry.
You know, I cannot stress this enough. MEC, our government and our society and our community is moving towards an oligarchic form of how we operate things. From partisan control of the House and the Senate, to people on the admin team, where there's serious questions about if they've actually rigged elections and done other corrupt acts. This is not the America that we want. We don't want an America where the 3 richest people have more wealth than the bottom 50%. We don't want a country where corporations squeeze up small businesses, get favored with the tax system. We don't want an America where women have to choose between starving to death or murdering their child. We don't want an America where our roads and our train systems are collapsing while the rich get richer and richer. That is not the America we want. We want a new America. The things where you get paid to be a parent, because being a parent is a full-time job. Where we have a president that openly supports workplace democracy, moving to a distributive-style economy, actually instituted measures like profit sharing and plans to raise profit sharing and plans to make it so on the board of directors for every corporation, there's a certain percentage of those board of directors being elected. That is how we achieve workplace democracy. We need a candidate that is concerned about our civil liberties, ending the war on terrorism, protecting Second Amendment rights. Someone who really cares about America, the 99%, and wants to make a new America. On election day, remember this debate and remember the date that will be on Thursday night. Listen closely to what the candidates have said and make the decision based off who you truly believe will solve the problems that America faces. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me, University of Houston. And God bless you, and God bless America.
Before we go off, may I say 2 things? I don't think rebuttals are allowed.
Rebuttals are not allowed for closing statements. We are ending this live stream now. God bless.
Thank you, everyone.